Good morning. How are my wonderful students? Hope you're doing well. And a happy Tuesday to you. This morning I got up early and I went over to the school and I got some of the books that I had left there so that we could have some more options for books. And one of the ones I found was Fantastic Mr. Fox. Remember, we were about halfway through this story. And Mr. Fox was outsmarting those three farmers. He had just found the chicken coop of one of them. And now him and Mr. Badger were digging again. And guess what they were looking for? Maybe you'll find out as I read it. Listen carefully today. And for your story write, just take out a piece of paper, draw some of the things you're hearing. Draw one of the scenes from the story that you're listening to today, and then you can write a sentence about what the story was about. And so let's read on. We're on chapter 13, Bunce's Giant Storehouse. "My dear Fox," cried Badger, "what in the world has happened to you?" "Don't talk about it, please," said Mr. Fox. "It's a painful subject." They were digging the new tunnel. They dug on in silence. Badger was a great digger, and the tunnel went forward at a terrific pace now, and he was lending a paw. Soon they were crouching underneath yet another wooden floor. Mr. Fox grinned slyly, showing sharp white teeth. "If I am not mistaken, my dear Badger," he said, "we are now underneath the farm which belongs to that nasty little pot-bellied dwarf Bunce. We are, in fact, directly under the most interesting part of that farm." "Ducks and geese!" cried the little foxes, licking their lips. "Juicy, tender ducks and big, fat geese." "Exactly," said Mr. Fox. "But how in the world can you know where we are?" asked Mr. Badger. Mr. Fox grinned again, showing even more white teeth. "Look," he said, "I know my way around these farms blindfolded. For me, it's just as easy below ground as it is above it." He reached high and pushed one wooden floor board, then another. He poked his head through the gap. "Yes," he shouted, jumping into the room above, "I've done it again. I've hit it smack on the nose, right in the bullseye. Come and look." There we are. Trying to get into Mr. Bunce's storehouse. Quickly Badger and the three small foxes scrambled up after him. They stopped and stared. They stood and gasped. They were so overwhelmed they couldn't speak, for what they now saw was a kind of fox's dream, a badger's dream, a paradise for hungry animals. "This, my dear old Badger," proclaimed Mr. Fox, "is Bunce's mighty storehouse. All his fine stuff is stored in here before he sends it off to market." Again, all the four walls of the great room, stacked in cupboards and piled up shelves reaching from the floor to the ceiling, were thousands and thousands of the finest, fattest duck and geese, plucked and ready for roasting. And above, dangling from the rafters, there must have been at least 100 smoked ham and 50 sides of bacon. "Just feast your eyes on that," cried Mr. Fox, dancing up and down. "What do you think of it, eh? Pretty good grub." Suddenly, as though springs had been released in their legs, the three hungry small foxes and the ravenously hungry Badger sprang forward to grab the luscious food. "Stop!" ordered Mr. Fox. "This is my party, so I shall do the choosing." The others fell back, licking their chops. Mr. Fox began prowling around the storehouse, examining the glorious display with an expert eye. A thread of saliva slid down one side of his jaw and hung suspended in midair, then snapped. "We mustn't overdo it," he said. "Mustn't give the game away. Mustn't let them know that what we've been up to. We must be neat and tidy and take just a few of the choicest morsels. So, to start with, we shall have 4 plump young ducks." He took them from the shelf Oh, how lovely and fat they are. No wonder Bunces gets a special price for them in the market. All right, Badger, lend me a hand and get them down. Your children can help as well. There we go. Goodness me, look how your mouths are watering. And now I think we had better have a few geese. 3 will be quite enough. We'll take the biggest. Oh my, oh my. You'll never see finer geese than these in a king's kitchen. Gently does it. That's the way. And what about a couple of nice smoked hams? I adore smoked hams, don't you, Badger? Fetch me the step-ladder, will you please? Mr. Fox climbed up the ladder and handed down 3 magnificent hams. And do you like bacon, Badger? I'm mad about bacon, cried Badger, dancing with excitement. Let's have a slide of bacon, that big one up there. And carrots, Dad, said the smallest of the 3 foxes. We must have some of those carrots. Don't be a twerp, said Fox. You know we never eat things like that. Oh, it's not for us, Dad. It's for the rabbits. They only eat vegetables. My goodness me, you are right, cried Mr. Fox. What a thoughtful little fellow you are. Take 10 bunches of carrots. There you go. Soon all the lovely loot was lying in a neat heap upon the floor. The small foxes crouched close, their noses twitching, their eyes shining like stars. And now, said Mr. Fox, we shall have to borrow from our friend Bunce 2 of those useful push-carts over in the corner. He and Badger fetched the push-carts, and the ducks and the geese and the hams and the bacon were loaded onto them. Quickly, the push-carts were lowered through the hole in the floor. The animals slid down after them. Back in the tunnel, Mr. Fox again pulled the floorboards very carefully into place so that no one could see they had been moved. My darling, he said, pointing to the 2 of the 3 small foxes, take a cart each and run back as fast as you can to your mother. Give her my love and tell her that we are having guests for dinner. And the badgers, the moles, the rabbits, and the weasels. Tell her it must be a truly great feast, and tell her the rest of us will be home as soon as we've done one more little job. Yes, Dad, right away, Dad, they answered, and they each grabbed a trolley, and each went rushing off down the tunnel. And this one over here. And that is the end of chapter 13. I'll be excited to see what you drew. Did you hear what's going on in the story? Whose farm were they at now? Yep, it was Bunce's. And what did Bunce have stored? Ducks and geese. Also ham and some bacon. And what did the little fox remember? Oh, yeah, he remembered to get some carrots for his friend the rabbits, because the rabbits don't eat meat. Was his dad proud of him? Yeah, he was proud of him for being so thoughtful. Good job. I'm proud of you, boys and girls, for getting your reading done, for getting your writing done, and for being happy. And I appreciate all those who have been sending their journals to me. I love getting them, so keep sending them. I looked at your scores today in Waterford and A to Z, and most of you have read a lot. I noticed that some of you had been making up time for when you had been missing. Good job, and I'm giving you points for that too. So have a great day, and we will continue reading the fantastic Mr. Fox tomorrow. Bye-bye.